So, what is your role of operation and maintenance for effectiveness in the wind business?
Well, that's a very fundamental element of the wind business. Once you have the wind turbine installations done, those are supposed to be operating over a period of its designed life, which earlier it was 20 years, now it's 25 years. And then throughout its operating lifetime of 25 years, your wind machines, your wind power plant is destined to deliver electricity. So electricity is the final product. So now, how do you squeeze, how do you exploit, how do you ensure that the wind power plant continues to deliver electric power without any interruptions or without less interruptions? So here, operation and maintenance, that's the key, wherein you have to ensure that you are able to upkeep the power plant through cyclic maintenances, following for certain breakdowns, making certain innovations through which if there are certain corrections needed for the performances, to bring them up and to keep it as good as new and fresh till its continued lifetime. So O&M is simply a care function. It's a function of care to ensure that whatever you have thought on paper, it's delivered in reality.
So, what are critical success factors for a good wind power plant?
I would say 1, 2, 3. In my opinion, 3 factors. First, orient for yield maximization. Yield maximization is about making a wind turbine or a wind power plant operate to its fullest potential. And to be able to do that, to use the turbine's intelligence, detect and manage the knowledge which the turbine is throwing by means of data for the purpose of regulating its performance. And there you have a clutch and control on the yield. Second, I would say asset longevity. What does that mean? A turbine is designed for certain wind conditions, class 1, 2, 3 or special classes, depending upon in which wind zone it is going to be operational. So therefore, when the turbine operates under harsh conditions like the environment, the grid, the fluctuations, both of wind as well as the grid, it is genuine that it being a machine, there would be a failure. A small component can fail or a major component can fail. So what is more important is to ensure that you are having proactive strategies to be able to detect before a failure can happen, before a major failure can happen. If a failure has happened, to be able to analyze why it has happened and then implementing it for the purpose of doing a complete root cause analysis and driving down an improvement solution, going back to the respective component supplier of the wind turbine, working with them, bringing in a technical improvisation and monitoring that such a fault which has occurred once, twice or thrice should not come again. So there you get a longer asset life. That's building reliability. That's the second. And the third one, you are producing electric power. Your fuel is wind. It costs nothing. But to produce electric power, you are having people, you are having machinery, you need material, you have to deploy allied set of resources. So there is an expenditure which is involved. Now let's say if electrical energy is being sold on an average between 4.5 to 5 rupees per unit, then how much can you afford to pay towards operation and maintenance cost? Initially, the cost of operation and maintenance could be low because the turbine is new. As it goes on aging, the cost for operation and maintenance can be higher. The insurance premiums can be higher. There could be refurbishments needed. There could be innovations which will be needed. There could be certain very special regulations which come into play, like grid codes, for example. So you are enforced to keep your turbine, the power plant, in an active and up-to-date condition, which has to be accepted by the periphery, the electrical utility. So therefore, this type of costs which go in, who controls this? How are these controlled? The major component of the cost, if you break it down, it comes to the material. And material means breakdown. Material means consumption due to one or the other reason. So if you are in a position to control the cost, then your expenditure is reduced. On the other side, if you have made genuine efforts to increase the production, so I get a ratio of O&M cost per kilowatt hour. It means that produced energy is higher, and the cost which has gone in, the expenses which has gone is lower. So my effective output has come very high. So that's the third success factor which I would say, to be able to control the O&M cost per kilowatt hour. And in my opinion, for a turbine of a age group of around 5 years, I would say it should not be more than 30-35 paise per unit. 10 years, well, 40, 42, 45 paise per unit, and so on, a little bit more. But if you are in a position to control this, practically all these three factors have played a beautiful role, and you have done an excellent O&M. That's it.
So how do you perceive the service function?
Service, for me, very simply speaking, it is not a repairs function. It's not a maintenance function. It's mistaken. It's a myth. It's a myth that service means repairs. No, it's not true. Service is a production function. When an investor invests in a wind power plant, it's as good as he investing in a factory producing electricity. Who are the people who are going to produce the electricity? Those are the production workers. So for the service operators, for the service technicians, it is like electricity is their final product, and to produce more electricity is their duty cycle. So they operate in shift, they manage themselves, they do a nice maintenance and ensure that the maximum yield comes. So I will never treat a wind machine as a windmill. I will always treat it as a wind power plant, a factory producing electricity, and the people of service, not as maintenance people but as production people. So that's how I look at service, as a completely production function.
Okay. Lastly, any message you would like to give to the industry?
Yes, very much. If I draw today, for the last 30-35 years since the wind began in India, the small machines, mid-size, the larger machines of today, the old technology, the mid technology, the new technologies now, certain wind manufacturers who came to India had their machines, went back. There are certain machines which are paralyzed. So if I draw a capacity factor for 30-35 years of all sizes of the machine, you will be astonished. It will not be more than 16.5-17%. Whereas today's machine is capable of producing well up to the range of 23, 24, 25, 26, 27%, depending upon which side you are. So there's a big gap. So what should the asset owner do? The OEM, what he should do? people, the wind industry, they have to ensure that the way they put in enough hard work and efforts while making a wind power plant project at its implementation stage, nice roads, offices, transmission lines, they have to look at making an investment at an initial stage for the purpose of acquiring the data. So whatever the wind turbine is going to speak, whatever the transmission lines, transformers, substations are going to reveal, you should be in a position to capture this data from the day one. Your data is going to be your wealth, and for this you have to look at small investments which will bring home huge returns, and probably what you would get over a period of 25 years of lifetime, the returns, those could be magnified substantially. So I would insist with the wind industry that a data acquisition system, a data management system, a data revealing system, a command and control system, so that the wind turbines do not work in isolation, but they work along with the power plant operators, not only at the site but also at the distant sites, distant places like central command and control centers. And this environment of command and control will give the industry a cutting edge. My own assessment, I would say, today's average capacity factor, which I was talking about, between 16 to 17%, there's a potential very easily we will be able to raise it by, on the top of it, 10% of existing one. So if it's 17%, 10% of that is 1.7%. So 18.7% is the average which you can bring it up. I'm talking about the entire level. And just to magnify it further, I will do a small mathematics. It's a good point. Thank you for asking this question. India is looking at renewables by the year 2022 to be 175 gigs, of which remove 15 gigs of the other renewables. 100 gigs is going to be sun and 60 gigs is going to be wind. Today we are 28 gigs of wind and roughly 8 gigs of sun. So if I do a sum total, 175 minus roughly 35 is 140 gigs is balance to be done over a period of, let's say, 7 years. And assuming that all these targets are too big, I will use the rule of the half. We will not do 140 gigs in 7 years, we will only do 70 gigs. Now my point is that if you have done a good work at the initial stage by doing this acquisition and control and monitoring using the data regulation, and if you are able to raise from the day one your productivity by 10%, it simply means that the 70 gigawatts what you are required to install over a period of 7 years, that is 10 gigawatts per year, without adding 10% of this, you will be able to maintain the same productivity. What does that mean? Out of 70 gigawatt, 10% is 7 gigawatt, which means 7,000 megawatts into 6 crores per megawatt. I am taking on the lower side. 7,000 into 6 crores, 42,000 crores of rupees you will not be required to invest, and you will still get the same power from the same target, provided you have taken and kept a control from the day one. And that's the message. And it's not just verbal mathematics, it's a truth. People should witness, they should move around the world what innovation is being put into practice. We do innovations. I would like to place an invitation to the industry whosoever is watching this particular interview. We are based out of Pune. We have a centralized energy studio, and to my studio, in the last 1 year, I have connected 500 megawatts of wind assets in India and 10,000 megawatts of wind assets across 16 countries, and I am seeing it. So come join me and be a part to look at what you can also do. Trust this helps the industry. Yeah?
Okay, so I think we are done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.